Hello everyone and welcome back to me, Shiva Wilson, and my channel, which is all about legalizing recreational flower in the UK. Now today we're going to be talking about medical flower in the UK. Now if you didn't know, medical flower is legal in the UK as of 2024. Today is the 15th of July 2024. It has been legal since November 2018. Not many people know about this, and not enough people know about this. The police don't know about this enough either. Apparently there's only something like one third of police forces don't even know that medical flower is legal in the UK, and something like a quarter of the public are unaware that it's actually legal. So if you didn't know about it, look it up on Google. Medical C word, medical flower is a thing, and it is legal in the country in which I reside, the United Kingdom. Right, so how did it happen? How did this medical flower become legal? And why did it happen? And what's it like now? And then looking ahead. So got a little video all about medical flower in the UK. So how did this happen? The legalization of medical flower in the UK has been a long and complex journey. Here's a breakdown of the key points. So the history of medical flower in the UK. Pre-2018, medical flower was essentially illegal in the UK. While there were some exceptions for specific conditions, the legal landscape was very restrictive. This meant many patients who could benefit from medical flower were unable to access it legally. So, in 2018, a turning point occurred. In November 2018, the UK government made a significant change. They reclassified flower from Schedule 1, which is the most dangerous, to Schedule 2, less dangerous. And this meant that doctors could legally prescribe flower-based products for patients with specific medical conditions. So why did this happen? Why did the government make the change? Why the shift in 2018? Public pressure. There was growing public awareness of the potential benefits of medical flower, particularly for conditions like epilepsy and chronic pain. Advocacy groups and patients themselves pushed for change. There was two high-profile cases. One, the mothers and families of Alfie Dingley and Billy Caldwell. Hopefully I've got that right. Yeah, I think that's correct. Two families with children who have, I think, a rare form of epilepsy, campaigned to change the law, and it happened basically overnight. Change after they campaigned, because one of the families went to the Netherlands to get their treatment prescribed, and then when they came back to the UK, they were not allowed to keep the medication because it was illegal at that time, and they pressed the Home Office on the topic and got them to change the law pretty much overnight. So yeah, it just shows that the fact that us public people can make a difference in the law. It didn't have to go through a massive long lawmaking process. It just happened because it was basically going to kill the child or the children involved if they didn't change the law. So yeah, there you go. Public pressure. Evidence. A growing body of scientific evidence emerged showing the effectiveness of medical flower for certain conditions. International trends. Many other countries were legalizing or decriminalizing flower, leading to pressure on the UK to follow suit. So that might happen with recreational flower as well, because there are loads of other countries who are legalizing or decriminalizing flower at this very moment. News is that the Czech Republic are focusing on legalizing recreational flower, yeah. So there you go. Current landscape. This is slightly outdated information, but it's still vaguely the same as of 2023, but it's as of 2024. Still a long way to go. While legal, access to medical flower in the UK is still relatively limited. You have to go get it on a private clinic, but if you are interested, Google medical flower, use the C word in the UK, and you get a whole list of clinics coming up advertising themselves. But if you go on medbud.wiki, that's medbud.wiki, you will find a resource which has information for all the clinics, all the different types of flower you can get, the oils, the vape cartridges, the edibles, the pharmacies that dispense the material itself. Flower material. Yeah, here's my flower. As you know, my dead flower. Does it still have the 20p in there? No, there was a 20p in there a while ago. So yeah, still a long way to go. It's not on the NHS. There's strict criteria. Doctors can only prescribe flower-based products if all other standard treatments have failed and the patient's condition meets specific criteria. So slightly outdated. There are a lot of conditions that medical flower is used for, both physical and mental health conditions. There's a list that, let me quickly get up a list here. List of qualifying health conditions. Type this in yourself for medical flower. Right, while that's getting, I've got no internet, have I? Oh yeah, how great is that? Well, there's a lot of them. There's chronic pain, epilepsy. Oh man, no, I'm not going to say them. Look them up. There's a lot of different conditions that it is available for. However, you do have to have tried at least 2 other treatments that have failed to produce results for your condition. And you have to give them your summary of care from your doctor. This is when you're talking to a private clinic, but they can do that automatically themselves, so that's all good. Limited availability. The number of doctors willing to prescribe medical flower remains limited, and there are only a few licensed producers and pharmacies authorized to supply it. Well, don't take that as advice. There are lots and lots of doctors willing to prescribe medical flower, and they're all in private clinics. I think what it's talking about here is the NHS. There are very few prescriptions that have been granted on the NHS, and I've heard that there are some more that have been given since last published. Like online, they've said there's been only a handful, like less than 5 full flower prescriptions on the NHS, but I read on Reddit that someone else had got one as well, so there's been a few further ones, but there are only a limited number of NHS doctors willing to prescribe medical flower. However, private clinics, there's loads of them out there, loads of good doctors who are willing to just prescribe it for your condition. Just check if you've got the right condition. You can go on the different clinics' websites, and they've got eligibility checks. So you put in your condition and bits about yourself. And criteria is that you haven't had schizophrenia or psychosis in the past. So I'm not eligible, hence one of the reasons why I'm advocating for legalizing recreational flower in the UK. We've already got medical. The next step on is recreational. So there's also somewhat of a cost barrier. Medical flower can be very expensive, often costing hundreds of pounds per month. This puts it out of reach for many patients, even those who meet the criteria. So that is a thing. If you look on medbud.wiki, you can see the prices. I've got no internet. You can see the prices available, and I've looked at it recently, and they go from £5 a gram to £13.50 per gram for medical flower. So at the low end, that's affordable, and at the high end, it's not affordable. And some of the oils are a lot more expensive than the raw flower stuff. Is it raw? I think you'd say it's raw. Yeah, raw flower. So Ongoing debate and challenges. Stigma. There is still a lot of stigma surrounding flower, and many people remain hesitant to use it for medical purposes. Yes, we need to get rid of the stigma around flower. Some people who are using it medically are being discriminated against. They're not allowed to use it in certain places sometimes where legally they are allowed to use it. They've got a vaporizer, they're not smoking it. You're not allowed to smoke medical flower. You have to use a vaporizer or the other methods that have been detailed by your doctor, but not smoking, that's not allowed. But yeah, some people are facing discrimination for, even in hospitals, for example, wanting to use or needing to use their medical flower for pain relief or symptom management or for whatever it is, that they found that they're encountering a stigma saying you're not allowed to use it or it's no good for you, and just, I don't know, nonsense basically. Funding and research. There is a need for more research and funding to explore the full therapeutic potential of medical flower and address concerns about its safety and efficacy. Fair enough. Access and affordability. The biggest challenge remains ensuring that patients who could benefit from medical flower have fair and affordable access to it. So we're looking at getting it on the NHS, properly on the NHS, so that any GP can prescribe it, like they've got in Germany now, because in Germany they've removed flower from the list of narcotics. It can now be prescribed as a medicine by any old GP in your community. Looking ahead, the legalisation of medical flower in the UK is a step in the right direction, but there are still many challenges to overcome. Advocacy groups and patients continue to push for changes to make medical flower more accessible and affordable. The journey is far from over, but there is a growing recognition that medical flower has a valuable role to play in managing specific medical conditions. So let's talk about the NHS now. So we got the flower is legal, but it's extremely limited on the NHS. Here's why. Limited funding and bureaucratic hurdles. The NHS faces significant budget constraints, and there are complex processes and approvals needed for prescribing new treatments. There are some guidelines called the NICE guidelines, that NICE guidelines, that the NHS has to go through a process to approve new treatments, and there have not been any clinical trials done on medical flower that would allow for them to prescribe it on the NHS more widely. So that sucks. So this makes it difficult for medical flower to be widely integrated into routine care. Lack of research, as I said, and clinical guidance. There's still a lack of comprehensive research and clear clinical guidelines on how to effectively prescribe and manage medical flower. This makes doctors hesitant to prescribe it. Concerns about potential harms. While the evidence for medical flower's benefits is growing, there are still concerns about potential risks and misuse. The NHS needs to be confident in its safety and efficacy before offering it more widely. So they're just being really hesitant, basically. Try and cover up the wheel of the bike. This situation leaves many patients in a difficult position. They may have conditions that could benefit from medical flower, but find themselves struggling to access it through the NHS or forced to pay high private prescription costs. Some of the most of the clinics have fees that you have to pay, like an initial consultation fee, then an ongoing consultation fee for every 1 month or every 3 months. And then you obviously have to pay for the medication as well. So having medical flower on the NHS is like another big step forward that I am advocating for as well. It needs to be on the NHS, and we need to have recreational flower legalized in this country to bring us up to speed with the rest of the legalized world. Okay, so it's a complex issue, and there's a lot of ongoing debate about how to balance the potential benefits of medical flower with the need for a robust and controlled system. Everybody, it has been a long video. Thanks for sticking with me this far. Hopefully you know a little bit more about medical flower in the UK now. And yeah, have a look for yourself about clinics and see if you might be eligible for a prescription. Otherwise, push the government to get this flower onto the NHS properly, fully, widely rolled out across the land with access for people who need it. And finally, push the government, the new Labour government, to legalise recreational flower in the UK. Good night.